Something catastrophic is happening to Europe's car industry right now. While you were sleeping, Chinese manufacturers didn't just enter the European market, they obliterated it. In May 2025 alone, Chinese brands doubled their market share to nearly 6%. That's not growth, that's conquest, and the casualties are piling up faster than anyone imagined. Forget everything you thought you knew about European automotive dominance. Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, these names built empires spanning over a century, but empires fall. And when the dust settles from this electric revolution, half the brands you grew up with will be nothing but memories collecting dust in automotive museums. If you own a car from any of these manufacturers, or you're planning to buy one, you need to understand what's coming, because this isn't just about new technology or environmental regulations. It's about financial survival in the most brutal market transformation in automotive history. The numbers are already telling a terrifying story. European car sales plummeted in June 2025, with major automakers reporting multi-billion euro losses. Battery electric cars captured 15.6% of the EU market share in the first half of 2025, up from 12.5% in 2024. But here's the kicker, most of that growth is going to Chinese brands, not European ones. Stellantis, the massive conglomerate that owns 14 different brands, saw their market share decline from 16.7% to 15.3% year-on-year. That might sound small, but in an industry worth hundreds of billions, every percentage point represents thousands of jobs and billions in revenue vanishing into thin air. The Chinese aren't coming, they're already here, and they're winning. BYD, the company most Europeans couldn't pronounce 5 years ago, is now Europe's fastest-growing car brand. Their Dolphin EV sells for €25,000 with technology that would have cost €50,000 just 3 years ago. A comparable Volkswagen ID.3 costs €35,000 for inferior battery chemistry and slower charging speeds. That's not competition, that's annihilation through superior economics and vertical integration. And it gets exponentially worse. MG, now Chinese-owned despite its British heritage, outsold Mercedes-Benz in several European markets in June 2025. Read that again slowly. A British brand owned by SAIC Motor is beating Germany's luxury flagship in its own backyard. The MG4 offers 350-kilometer real-world range for €28,000, while Citroën's EC4 manages just 220 km for €36,000. When European volume manufacturers lose on both price and technology simultaneously, the game isn't just over, it never really began. But here's what terrifies European executives the most during their sleepless nights. Chinese brands aren't just cheaper, they're technologically superior. Xpeng filed over 41,000 EV-related patents between 2010 and 2022, more than Germany, France, and Italy combined. While European brands were perfecting diesel emissions cheating and arguing about manual transmissions, China was building the electric future with government backing worth hundreds of billions. Now European manufacturers are buying Chinese batteries, Chinese motors, and Chinese software to compete with Chinese cars. The irony would be hilarious if it wasn't so economically devastating. NIO's battery swapping technology allows complete battery replacement in under 3 minutes. While your Peugeot needs 45 minutes to charge, Chinese drivers are already back on the road. BYD's Blade battery technology offers superior safety and longevity compared to anything European brands can source. When your competitor controls the supply chain, manufacturing, and innovation pipeline, you're not competing, you're slowly suffocating. Stellantis owns 14 brands, and at least 5 are walking dead without knowing it yet. The automotive conglomerate formed from the merger of PSA and Fiat Chrysler is hemorrhaging market share while trying to electrify everything simultaneously. It's like trying to perform surgery on 14 patients at once. Some are going to die on the operating table. Take Lancia, the Italian brand with a glorious rallying heritage. Their electric renaissance consists of exactly one car, the Ypsilon EV, priced at €35,000. That's premium pricing for a brand with virtually zero recognition outside Italy and a dealer network smaller than most regional pizza chains. The Ypsilon competes against the Tesla Model 3, MG4, and Volkswagen ID.3 with inferior technology, no charging infrastructure partnerships, and a badge that means nothing to buyers under 50. DS Automobiles represents an even more spectacular failure of strategic thinking. Positioned as France's answer to Tesla, DS has become a masterclass in how to destroy shareholder value. Their luxury strategy involves rebadging Peugeot EVs with leather seats and chrome trim, then charging €10,000 more. The DS3 E-Tense costs €41,000 more than a Tesla Model 3, with superior autopilot technology, supercharger network access, and over-the-air software updates. DS sold fewer than 40,000 cars across all of Europe in 2024. Tesla sells that many Model 3 second in Germany alone during a bad month. The mathematics are absolutely brutal and getting worse. Industry experts estimate each brand needs minimum 200,000 EV sales annually to justify platform development costs. Lancia sells 30,000 cars total across all powertrains. DS sells 40,000. Chrysler manages barely 20,000 in Europe. These brands are financially dead. Stellantis just hasn't announced the funerals yet because it would trigger massive layoffs and political backlash across multiple countries. CEO Carlos Tavares faces an impossible mathematical puzzle. How do you electrify 14 brands when developing a competitive EV platform costs €5 minus 10 billion minimum, and energy costs in Italy are 5 times higher than China? The answer is becoming clear: you don't. You let some brands die quietly while focusing resources on the survivors. Alfa Romeo and Maserati built their legendary reputations on soul-stirring engines that made grown men weep with joy. The Busso V6, the Ferrari-derived V2, the spine-tingling exhaust symphonies, these weren't just motors, they were mechanical poetry that justified premium pricing through pure emotion. Now they're asking customers to pay €48,000 for the Tonale PHEV, a silent electric box that sounds like a refrigerator and accelerates like one too. The Tonale was supposed to herald Alfa Romeo's electric renaissance. Instead, it became a sales disaster, moving just 23,000 units in its first year, against projected sales of 60,000. Why? Because at €48,000, buyers can get a BMW X1 xDrive with superior build quality, proven reliability, established service network, and technology that actually works consistently. Alfa's planned EV-only lineup by 2027 now looks less like ambition and more like fantasy created by executives who've never driven their own products. Maserati's situation transcends tragedy and enters pure comedy territory. The Gran Turismo Folgore, their electric flagship, starts at €110,000 for a car that can't match a €90,000 Porsche Taycan in any meaningful metric. Performance? Taycan wins. Build quality? Porsche destroys them. Charging infrastructure? Porsche has partnerships. Maserati has promises. Brand prestige among buyers under 40. Porsche is aspirational. Maserati is what your grandfather might have wanted. Maserati sold just 6,500 cars globally in early 2024. That's not a typo, 6,500 vehicles across the entire planet. Porsche sells more Taycans than Maserati's entire product lineup combined. When your total global sales equal one competitor's single model in a slow quarter, extinction isn't a risk. It's a mathematical certainty waiting for quarterly earnings reports to make it official. The fundamental problem crushing Italian brands. They built their entire identity around emotional connection to internal combustion engines. In the EV world, emotion comes from instant torque delivery, silent acceleration, and software features that improve over time. When your brand DNA revolves around something that literally no longer exists in your product lineup, you're not evolving, you're fossilizing in real time. While customers move on to brands that understand the electric future, French manufacturers pioneered numerous automotive innovations over the past century, but they're catastrophically unprepared for electrification economics. Citroën's electric strategy perfectly illustrates European automotive incompetence meeting Asian efficiency. Their C4 Electric offers 220-kilometer real-world range for €36,000 while consuming energy like a small apartment building. Meanwhile, Chinese-owned MG sells the MG4 for €28,000, with 350-kilometer range and charging speeds that make the Citroën look like it's powered by hamster wheels. When a British brand owned by SAIC Motor offers 60% more range for 22% less money while maintaining superior build quality, something is fundamentally broken in French automotive strategy. It's not just one model, it's systematic failure across multiple brands and product lines. Peugeot appears stronger on paper with their E208 and E2008 receiving positive reviews, but they're hemorrhaging market share to Volkswagen Group and Chinese rivals month after month. The underlying problem? Platform inefficiency that creates cascading cost disadvantages. PSA's EMP platforms were adapted for electric powertrains, not designed for them from the ground up. This creates higher manufacturing costs, compromised interior packaging, and inferior energy efficiency compared to purpose-built EV platforms from Tesla, BYD, or even Volkswagen's MEB architecture. The market share numbers tell a devastating story. French brands' combined European EV market share collapsed from 15% in 2020 to 11% in 2024. Industry analysts project single digits by 2026 as Chinese brands expand production capacity and European brands struggle with cost competitiveness. When your home market abandons domestic brands for Chinese alternatives offering superior technology at lower prices, survival becomes mathematically impossible without massive government intervention. Renault deserves some credit for the early Zoe EV, which helped establish European electric vehicle acceptance. But even they're struggling against the Chinese tsunami that doubled market share in just 12 months. The alliance with Nissan provides some technological advantages, but it's not enough to compete against vertically integrated Chinese manufacturers who control everything from lithium mining to software development. Surely German engineering excellence and financial strength will prevail against Chinese competition. The uncomfortable truth is that even Volkswagen, Europe's largest automaker, is in existential crisis. Software problems with their ID series have cost billions in warranty claims, recalls, and lost sales. The Trinity project, positioned as their Tesla killer with revolutionary technology, has been delayed until 2028, giving Tesla and Chinese brands 3 more years to dominate market segments VW desperately needs. Meanwhile, Volkswagen is closing German factories for the first time in company history. The Osnabrück plant, which employed thousands for decades, shut down permanently in 2024. Herbert Diess, their former CEO, warned that Volkswagen could become another Nokia if they didn't transform quickly enough. He was fired for telling uncomfortable truths, but his warnings are proving prophetic as Chinese brands capture market share with superior products at lower prices. BMW appears better positioned with their new A-Class A platform launching in 2026, but faces a fundamental challenge that threatens their entire brand identity. Traditional BMW buyers love straight-six engines, rear-wheel drive dynamics, and manual transmissions. Will these enthusiasts embrace silent electric SUVs costing €80,000 with artificial engine sounds pumped through speakers? Early sales data suggests many are defecting to Porsche or even Chinese luxury brands that don't pretend to be something they're not. Mercedes-Benz split itself into 3 separate divisions, essentially admitting they can't be everything to everyone anymore in the electric age. Their EQS flagship starts at €110,000 but sells in microscopic numbers compared to the S-Class it's meant to replace. When your electric flagship can't achieve 10% of your combustion engine sales after 2 years on the market, the strategy isn't working. German brands will likely survive through sheer financial strength and engineering capability, but they'll be fundamentally different companies, serving different customers. Smaller German brands like Alpina are already being absorbed or discontinued. The Porsche that survives won't sound like a 911. The BMW that continues won't offer manual transmissions or naturally aspirated engines. These brands will exist in name, but not in spirit, a different kind of death that preserves the badge while killing the soul. Here's the terrifying reality that keeps European automotive executives awake at night. Europe doesn't control EV supply chains, and building them would take decades they don't have. China produces 75% of global battery cells and controls 90% of rare earth element processing required for electric motors and batteries. Every European EV manufacturer depends on Chinese suppliers, while Chinese brands enjoy complete vertical integration from raw materials to finished vehicles. When BYD builds an electric vehicle, they manufacture their own batteries with proprietary chemistry, produce their own electric motors, and develop their own semiconductors. When Stellantis builds an EV, they purchase Chinese batteries from CATL, buy motors from various Asian suppliers, source semiconductors from whoever has inventory, and pray the complex supply chain doesn't collapse during a global crisis. This dependency creates multiple disadvantages that compound over time. European brands face higher component costs because they're buying from suppliers who sell the same technology cheaper to Chinese competitors. They have less control over component specifications and innovation roadmaps. Most critically, they face constant supply risk during shortages or geopolitical tensions. The semiconductor shortage of 2021 to 2023 provided a preview of European vulnerability. European brands waited months for chips, while Chinese manufacturers with domestic suppliers maintained production. As EV demand explodes globally, this disadvantage becomes existential. You cannot compete effectively when your primary competitor controls the critical components you desperately need to build competitive products. Tesla's supercharger network wasn't just smart business strategy, it was survival planning. European brands foolishly assumed public charging infrastructure would magically appear through government programs and third-party investment. It didn't happen fast enough or in sufficient quantities. Now they're scrambling to build charging networks while Tesla opens their system to all brands, making profit from competitors' customers while controlling the charging experience. Ionity, the joint venture between major European brands, operates just 3,000 charging stations across Europe after years of development and billions in investment. Tesla operates over 40,000 supercharger stations worldwide, with superior technology and user experience. When Chinese brands like NIO partner with Shell and BP to build battery-swapping networks faster than traditional automakers can install basic chargers, the infrastructure war is already decisively lost. If you currently own a vehicle from any struggling European brand, you face immediate and accelerating depreciation risk that will destroy your investment. Market uncertainty kills resale values faster than any other factor because buyers discount heavily when they question whether a brand will exist in 5 years to provide parts, service, and warranty support. We're already witnessing this depreciation catastrophe in real time. Jaguar F-Type values have dropped 60% in just 2 years as buyers flee the brand before their announced transformation to ultra-luxury EVs above £100,000. Alfa Romeo Giulia values fell 55% as consumers lose confidence in Italian brand survival. DS models have become virtually unsellable in many European markets, with depreciation rates exceeding 70% in some segments. For those considering new vehicle purchases, the financial calculation is stark and unforgiving. Buy from a dying brand and watch your investment evaporate faster than ice cream in summer heat. That €50,000 Maserati Gran Turismo could be worth €20,000 in 3 years if Maserati retreats to ultra-luxury production of fewer than 10,000 units annually. The €35,000 Lancia Y might be worth €10,000 if Stellantis finally admits reality and discontinues the brand entirely. Parts availability becomes critically important when brands disappear or drastically reduce their presence. When Saab collapsed, owners faced month-long waits for basic maintenance components and impossible searches for specialty parts. When Rover disappeared, simple items like door handles and window regulators became unobtainable at any price. Now imagine experiencing that parts availability nightmare with your daily driver while you're still making loan payments for the next 4 years. Based on current financial trajectories, market share losses, and EV transition costs, here's when major European brands will hit their critical failure points. This isn't speculation, it's mathematical analysis based on cash burn rates, development costs, and market realities. 2025 to 2026 represents the first wave of casualties. Lancia, DS Automobiles, and Seat face existential decisions within the next 18 months. Without dramatic intervention involving billions in additional investment, these brands will either merge completely into their parent companies or cease meaningful independent operations. Their current sales volumes cannot support the minimum €5 billion required for competitive EV platform development. 2027 to 2028 brings the second wave as Alfa Romeo, Maserati, and Jaguar either complete radical transformations or effectively exit mass-market competition. Jaguar has already announced their retreat to ultra-luxury EVs above £100,000, essentially admitting they cannot compete in volume segments. Alfa Romeo and Maserati face similar decisions: transform completely or retreat to tiny niches that may not be commercially viable. 2029 to 2030 initiates the third wave, where brands like Citroën, Fiat, and even Mazda Europe face elimination or forced partnerships with Chinese manufacturers. As EV transition costs continue escalating and Chinese brands expand European production, mid-tier brands without massive financial backing or technological advantages will find survival impossible. Post-2030, only brands with successful, dedicated EV platforms, extensive charging infrastructure partnerships, and sustainable business models will survive as independent entities. The rest become either badges applied to Chinese-developed platforms or historical footnotes in automotive museums. The revolution isn't coming, it's here, accelerating, and reshaping everything you thought you understood about the automotive industry. The brands that survive will be fundamentally different from the companies that built their reputations over the past century. Make sure you understand which side of this transformation you're betting your money on, because the consequences of choosing wrong